Hello there, and welcome back to our little foundation series. In this third and final video, we're going to cover structure. Now, a quick recap. In the first video, we talked about perspective, and the big focus behind all of the training is to be able to recognize our dog's perspective and shift it into something that is more appropriate for our needs or the situation. In the second video, we talked about communication as far as a way where we can actively drive that shift. But now in this video, we are going to go over structure so that there is a strong belief system in what we have to say. And so really, to put it simply, that's what structure is all about, is creating this understanding that whenever you give direction, there's value to this direction, that it is important to follow just because you know what's up. So in this idea of creating a structure, it's about developing a leadership system where we lead and the dogs follow. Now, when I bring up this idea of leadership, it's maybe quite common for some people to think about phrases like being the pack leader or being the alpha. Along with those phrases are very often thoughts of being very dominant and forceful and overbearing, and they tend to have a lot of negative connotations. Well, when I'm talking about being a solid leader for your dog, I'm not talking about doing it by force. What I'm talking about is being a leader by demonstration of good character. Think about role models that we had when we were children. We looked up to these people not because they forced us to, but because their choices, their actions, their characteristics spoke to us in some way and resonated in such a way that we wanted to follow in their footsteps. And we wanted to replicate what they did, kind of copy them, follow them. So that's what I'm talking about when creating a structure and this idea of leadership. We are going to display ourselves in such a way where we can prove to our dogs that we are capable of handling any situation in this big bad world, and that when we direct them into behaving differently than what their instincts are telling them, they want to follow that rather than their instincts. So for dogs, some of these things that we can do to display this idea of being a capable leader, while there's so many different options, three very important ones that can be changed almost cold turkey right away for anybody involve the feeding, reuniting, and controlling freedom. So imagine giving a credit card to a kid. No limits, no rules, no anything about how they use it. They just get to use it whenever, however they want, and the parents just pay for it. Well, if that child had that kind of access, then they're going to buy whatever they want, whenever they want, and just not suffer any kind of consequences or responsibility that might come with that kind of access. It won't take very long for them to lose respect and responsibility over material objects, and it won't take much longer beyond that for them to transcend this lack of respect and lack of responsibility into other areas of their life, predominantly to their parents, and just be very rude, very disrespectful, and are very unlikely to do any chores around the house, take care of those responsibilities of life, especially for a measly $15 a week of allowance. So for dogs, the weight that they put into food and its value is very similar to the weights that we put into money and how we value it. That credit card for a human child is very similar to free feeding for a dog. With a human family, whoever controls the money within the family can lead the family. So very similarly for dogs, whoever controls the food leads that family. So we need to be mindful of our feeding rituals with our dogs so that we can be sure to be sending the appropriate messages pertaining to leadership. So the next thing that we can make a change to with dogs right away is in the reuniting ritual. With the human analogy, imagine that favorite uncle or family member coming over, and your kids are so excited to greet them, they go rushing and basically tackle them at the door. And then the first things out of their mouth could be something along the lines of, "What did you bring me?" Well, if that's how your child views this person, then they're not a family member necessarily. They're not a friend to them. They view this person as just a gift giver, the greatest thing ever, but just a source of things and giving them total excitement, but not a source of respect. When our dogs rush and greet us in the same way, and with that same level of excitement, they're going to view you as that same source of excitement and giving, not necessarily as a source of respect or someone that should be respected. Sometimes in reality, children will do this to those people. We don't necessarily allow our children to do that to ourselves. So with our dogs, it's got to be very, very similar. And there needs to be care and respect controlled by you, given by them, as we reunite from whatever situation. It could be as small as just going to the bathroom and shutting the door and being apart from our dogs for a minute, or it could be coming back from work every day, or it could be coming back from a week or longer vacation. But again, respect should be had in some way, and definitely understandable to have excitement, to have affection, but there's still this idea of respect as we come back together from whatever situation that we've been apart from. It's not wrong in of itself to give affection or excitement as we come together, but we need to be mindful as to how we convey that affection and that excitement to be able to send the appropriate message as far as where the respect should be coming and going from. So then the last one that we can relatively easily, make a change to right away for our dogs is concerning freedom. Going with the human analogy again first. Imagine a teenager just turned 16, got their driver's license, and they can drive. Chances are, though, they're not going to have their own car, which means they're going to have to borrow the keys from the parents to run their own errands or to take care of other responsibilities or just to go out. Those keys are not likely to be so freely given unless that child has earned the access to the car. They have shown respect before even turning 16. They have shown enough responsibility before this point to be trusted with this kind of freedom. Now, if they stay out past curfew one too many times, they are observed driving very recklessly. They don't respect the vehicle itself, just trashing it, not picking up after themselves, not filling the gas tank back up. If they show any kind of disrespect or irresponsibility in these ways, then it's likely that the keys are not going to be given back. If this happens, then that teenager probably doesn't have to earn the keys back by doing something even more than what they did to get them to begin with, showing more respect, showing more responsibility, probably in other areas not concerning vehicles. Dogs given freedom is very similar to this. It should be earned, not just given. They should be taught how to utilize this freedom, just like kids are going through driver's ed to learn how to drive a car. Part of that process involves the parent being right there riding shotgun to show them the ropes. Same thing with dogs. They should be shown the ropes of how to use the freedom, whatever that means. It could be how to respect your backyard and learning not to dig, not to chew on the sprinkler system or bark at the neighbors before giving them freedom of a doggy door to freely go into the backyard. It should be that they're taught how to utilize whatever's in the household, whatever your rules might be about being on the furniture or not, getting into the trash or typically not. But then we need to be controlling their freedom while we're not there to guide them in appropriate ways. To put it very simply, crate training is going to be a huge benefit towards teaching dogs how to one day earn the freedom of the house and even a doggy door in the yard. By no means is this a permanent solution in which we're using the crate, locking them up, throwing away the key. It's just a temporary solution. It's what's going to help set a baseline to one day work them up and teach them how to not rely on the crate, basically. Teach them how to be respectful of whatever freedoms you choose to give them. Those are the three most basic, most important areas that you can make adjustments to send a better message. Again, the feeding, the reuniting, and just general freedom. There are many other areas, but I feel like they're not as important. I can go into detail on those another time. With all of that, though, the depth that you would have to go to in making these adjustments, how strict you are in managing the feeding ritual and managing the dog's freedom and managing the moments in which you reunite, those depths can vary from dog to dog just based on their own individual personalities and their genetics. So there are many dogs out there that are very, very easygoing, and you don't have to put that much effort. You can almost do things backwards from how I would recommend it, and it doesn't affect much, because to that individual, they really just don't want to be a leader, and they really just want to follow. Whereas there are many other dogs where you have to be very strict, very structured, very regimented about every aspect of day-to-day life, and making sure that you are sending these constant messages that you lead and they follow. Just because if we back off even just a little bit, they think, all right, the management system is slipping up a little bit, and then I guess that's my cue to step up. They can start to behave more along their instincts and do things that we as humans and owners typically feel are incorrect, inappropriate in various ways. And then there's everything in between, and so read your dog, consult a professional if that might be necessary to help you learn how to read your dog so you can understand exactly to what extent you need to go to in these areas to, again, make sure you send a solid message. Definitely don't ever feel ashamed if you happen to have one of these dogs that require more. Don't worry about using the crate a lot. Don't worry about being very strict, very regimented, very structured about everything that you're doing. Definitely don't worry about other people looking in, not understanding what you've been working through, what you're working towards. Now, when you have these dogs, it might not be forever that we're very strict, very regimented. It could be as they grow and they mature that we can start to back off and they're not going to take advantage of it. Yet again, there could be some dogs that they just need it for their entire lives, and that is still never anything to be ashamed of. Every person has their own needs to be successful in life, and those needs vary from person to person, and it's no different for their dogs. So, to sum everything up in this little series, our ultimate objective in everything that we do is always to figure out what our dog's perspective is, figure out if it's matching our perspective, and if not, then we need to shift the perspective into something that is much more appropriate for the situation or just life in general. In order to do this shift, we can develop a communication system so that it's easy to be active and almost quite literally tell a dog, you're doing this, I would much rather you do that. You see the world this way, but really you should be seeing the world this way. But then we have structure as a way to create leadership and trust in our communication so that they will want to go in this other direction and start to really open up their minds and see the world a different way. I hope you enjoyed this discussion on structure and communication in this foundation series. If you have any questions about anything, definitely drop them down in the comments down below. If you are interested in getting into depth as to exactly what it looks like to adjust a feeding structure, creating that ritual, adjust the reuniting ritual, adjust all these areas of life and all those other ones that I didn't mention in this short little video, then we are launching a mini course online in which we go to those depths. We will give examples and discussions about a lot of these different areas. As of the recording of this video, that mini course is not ready and available yet, but when it is, there will be a link down in the description box below. So if you're watching this in the future and it is ready, well, there it is for you. But again, be sure to subscribe so that you can be aware when it does become available, as we will make an announcement. And if you enjoyed it, hit the like button and be sure to subscribe so you can keep up with us and everything that we got going on. Thanks for watching.